Okay, looks like we're live on YouTube. Haven't done a live stream for about 10 days, I guess. About 10 days. I've been pretty busy. I was going to do one on New Year's Day, but I didn't really spaced it out. Basically, what happened on New Year's Day? I was a bit hungover. I've been at a party here at Lila, and that went on till about what time did I get in? Four or five or something, and I was a little bit drunk. And somewhere on the New Year's Day, I spaced it out, but probably people were anyway, I guess, in a similar state or whatever. I don't know. I don't drink so much these days, but yeah, once in a while, it's nice to have a bit. So that was fun. And really, in the last week, I've been traveling the whole time. I was in Dublin last week up until Sunday. Came back Sunday, and just led a little a talk out there. A friend of mine, Brian Halpin, he runs a very interesting thing called Interesting Talks. It's a little bit like the Irish version of TED Talks, and he just invites different speakers. And he'd heard of me, and he'd come to one of my workshops, and he really wanted me to invite me out there. And it was cool, I've got about 35 people came along to the talk, and I just don't really prepare anything. I just have my whiteboard, give a few diagrams, talk about therapy, and just let people ask questions whenever they want. And people were turned on to it. It was cool. And at the end, we did some bow and arch just to kind of complete things. So that was great, And I'd never been to Ireland before. I'd never been to Ireland, And it's one of them places I thought, I'd like to go there. It's kind of pricey, Dublin, I noticed. Even like in the UK, the Spar is like a really cheap supermarket, but in Dublin it's like pretty pricey, I was like, whoa. And we were staying right in the middle of town around a friend of his flat in Temple Bar. So that was a really cool place. It was kind of a little bit like the old days when I used to live in Soho in London, and you walk out of your street right into a mass of people just going drinking and doing stuff and God knows what. Anyway, that was good fun. And I must message him actually to get Brian, because we're going to try and get a workshop together, a bioenergetics group, a one-day workshop, hopefully on around March the 2nd, possibly with a talk the night before, Friday and Saturday. And yeah, it'd be nice it's always nice to go somewhere new and do stuff. And I have a feeling like, people are interested, I mean, I like the Irish. They got a big heart, they come through a lot, hey, the Irish. And it was nice having these guys, and they had great questions. And so, yeah, I'd like to run a workshop there. So hopefully in Dublin, we get a one-day workshop together, and that's coming up. I'll let people know about that soon if it gets all finalized. The other big thing that's going on for me at the moment is right now I'm starting to move house, moving out of the community, or not totally out of it, but starting to be more in the background. And I'm just taking on a flat in Brighton. I haven't rented a flat for like, I don't know, just done normal, like something like that for like 20 years, And so it's quite a little bit of a drama uphill with paperwork and stuff like that, but it's all happening. And hopefully I'm moving in somewhere near the Western Road in the middle of Brighton next month, right before Project Man, which I'm very excited about. And for me, getting myself into Brighton, getting myself into a different environment. The main thing is what I'm trying to achieve by it is to have space to develop my career a bit more in the sense of the workshops I want to give and the other stuff I want to do. So I'm going to really be getting my bioenergetics book together and getting workshops like Project Man together, and, developing the men's work in particular, getting my book together and looking what other workshops can come. Curiously enough, living so long in community, it's great. And there's always people around, which is nice, sympathetic people, friends around. But also it's a little bit, sometimes I'm not really find the deeper kind of ambitions that I've got, the stuff I want to get together and work with is not happening. And meanwhile, I'm getting older. So I'm taking myself into a different environment, basically, to try and get this together. And that's my big plan for 2019. So I've just about in the process of signing a lease on a flat in Brighton, and then I'm going to be there 3, 4, 5 days a week and can really get some shit together. I'm also keen to see what else is going on out there, particularly in the field of men's work. Chasing up a guy called Rowan, who runs something called No More Mr. Nice Guy in London, and find out what he's up to. And generally, I want to get some stuff together, get out there and try new things. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the challenge. It will will be challenging living back out in the world after so many years living in a community, you know. Most people from the world come into community and find it challenging as fuck, you know. Growth, they grow as well, they develop, but it is challenging, you know, living so close around people. But I'm kind of used to that stuff now, and it's more, the challenge will be more being out on my own a bit more in society. So I've got some good friends in Brighton. Anyway, if you are tuned in and you've got a question, that's what I'm here for, so feel free to go for it. Otherwise, I'll just keep rattling on about what I'm rattling on about what I'm up to, which is mostly preparing workshops. And this time of year, yeah, trying to get another thing about being in Brighton is I want to get some more content out, you know, and really start to focus on putting out a daily video if possible, you know, looking at different things with bioenergetics, getting some real with my book, and also really getting the idea that I can create a course for people who want to learn bioenergetics properly, who really want to get the development from it, and then maybe from that start to teach themselves, you know. So that'll be an ambition and a plan I'll be working on whilst I'm in Brighton, and to start to create, you know, really something in my head, that get my head together. So it's like, you know, now we're going to work at certain core fundamental exercises for a certain period of time, and have a good way of doing it and assessing, so that people can really train. They can really train with it in the same way, you know, you go to yoga and there's a whole load of different exercises you do. You go to the gym and you've got a trainer. With bioenergetics, so you can train at it. Ideally, you know, ideally with some level of supervision, but we'll see, you know, because a lot of people want to do the training, and a lot of people want to teach, and they want to me all the time. And there are no courses to teach. You know, you can't really learn to teach bioenergetics anymore in most countries. It's not, it's kind of disappeared into the background. And my idea is to bring it back into the foreground and get some of the kind of modern stuff that you need, you know, to get more widespread acceptance, and for it to be more visible, more seen. You know, I need to get out there a bit more, get up to London, see what's going on, and make myself visible, and get onto more other, you know, high profile YouTube channels and stuff, and start opening my mouth and rattling on, which I anyway enjoy doing. And so this is my big vision for 2019, and then to see where that goes. So I see myself putting in quite a lot of hours, taking myself a bit more seriously. It's kind of easy, I find, being a Brit, to kind of hang out in the background a little bit too much and not really take all the opportunities that are available. So a big part of my vision, by getting myself into a modern city, my favorite city in the UK, is to really put myself out there in a coherent way and get this bioenergetics and the other elements of body-based therapy that I teach just more visible. That's what I want to do for the next phase of my life. A couple of questions coming in. JW86100, hi all. Teaching bio would be a real interest to me when the time is right and personal transformation is right. Yeah, you know, it would be good. What's exciting about, you know, the general field is, like, there's this thing TRE, you know, which you can learn. Trauma release exercise is essentially how I see it, not the creator, is a subset of, but very small subset of all the kind of bioenergetic exercises that are out there, you know. And you can learn that for about £1,500, £2,000, similar dollars or euros, and then become a teacher, you know. And that's great, you know. I mean, the thing with bio is, like, it can go very, very deep. You know, you're really going into the deepest areas of trauma held in the body, and so it is quite something sometimes to hold the space. But I'm looking how people can step up, and how can we create something to create teachers and to create people. So I'm busy with it, JW. Stefan, hi Dev, do you think that bioenergetics can reverse some stress-induced illness? And also wondering what your diet is like. Do you follow any particular? Can it reverse some? Yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, in fact, stress of its nature is not a problem. When there's too much stress, typically repetitively in the same direction, then that's when the problems come. You know, and you know that is one of the main things that body-based therapy can really treat. You know, and the underlying conditions, you know, as soon as you're willing to look at the underlying conditions inside the stress, because there can be a tendency for people seeking help from stress to they just want to kind of put the problems on the outside, but the problems, of course, are never on the outside. So when you're ready to see, okay, you know, what's going on inside my own body, that I'm having these stress reactions all the time, and how can I move out of it? You know, bioenergetics can help a lot when you're willing to do that. And of course, sometimes you need to move yourself away from the stressors, as they call them, the stress inducing situations. But what often happens with stress is people, that they initially, because of the ego, how it is, it's all problems on the outside, problems on the outside. If I wasn't having this stress, my girlfriend, my job, my boss, the transport situation in London, whatever, it's all on the outside. But of course, it's not all on the outside. The stress is coming from your own internal reactions. And yes, you can make changes on the outside. People often do when they can, and they find the stress comes back because it's on the inside. And when you're ready to examine that, then bioenergetics can really, really help. In fact, to a degree, it can even help before you're ready to examine that. But to go deeper with bio, you have to be willing to look at the internal component, the part of you that is getting stressed, not just the triggers. Initially, we always want to take ourselves away from the triggers, but it doesn't always work. And I'm also wondering what my diet, you probably don't want to follow my diet so much. Quite often what I eat, especially if I'm traveling a lot, is have quite a big breakfast with a lot of protein and then very little else, some nuts, or often if I'm running a workshop, maybe go out in the evening and have a meal and a glass of red wine, something like that. I'm really not a dietitian. I tend to go more paleo. That's my basic take. And my basic take with diet is that people eat way too fucking much. I'm not convinced it really matters what you eat. A lot of nutritionists would freak out big time and come up talking forever about in opposition, but I'm not convinced it really matters what you eat. It's how much of it you eat is what I see working with the body. Also after Christmas, I could lose a few pounds, but I'm not severely overweight. I hope that's useful, Stefan. JW, when doing bow and arch, what about shouting comes from the head or upper part of the body, shouting from frustration, resistance? I mean, you can make sound in bioenergetics, and some bioenergetic exercises have got elements of emotional expression in them. But generally in the bow and arch, it's more important to really breathe through the mouth deep and feel. And there might be a little bit of sound, but for most people, when they go into shouting, they've lost spontaneity and they've gone into the mind. They've gone into the mind and then they're shouting. And that's okay. I also teach emotional expression. And then you do go into the mind, you connect up with feelings and you really put them out. But generally, bioenergetics is a little bit of a different take. So you don't need to engage so much with what it's not psychotherapy in the traditional sense. You don't need to engage with the narratives and the stories so much when you're doing bio. If you're doing the bow and arch, breathe and feel the body. Don't go into the narrative so much. Even if feelings about your mum come up and dad or whatever, traumatic stuff is there and you suddenly get pissed off and you want to scream, more breathe and feel. And if you want to do, emotional expression, do that separately. A different thing. Come to a workshop ideally, because few people, in my experience, can effectively express emotions at a deep level. You need to learn it really with someone who's qualified, generally like myself, who, before you can really get there. That's been my experience. A lot of people think they can, and you see them in the group room, you think, maybe not. So that's just been my experience. So I would not personally do a lot of shouting and screaming when you're doing the bow and arch. I would really make sure you're physically breathing down to your belly, in and out through the mouth. That's the main thing that people miss, the breathing and the feeling the body. People get the position often not quite right, but they can get that right, but they contract the throat and hold. And even when you're screaming, often there can be a contraction there. It's like really get the breathing first and try and breathe down to your gut. I hope that's useful. You got another question? Like the stories in the mind about shit in life are real intense and there's a shout reaction. I don't know if it's right to go with it or making things worse. Like I say, I don't think it'll make things worse, so to speak. But it's better to go into the anger side of things, which I assume is what you're talking about, than in a proper group room situation, ideally with people who know what they're doing. If you're in the UK, check me out for workshops. Come to something and you can scream your bollocks off really as loud as you want, and when in the proper setting and with confrontation, allowing yourself to project the shit onto other people. They're doing the same to you. But it needs to be held properly. But generally with bio, I don't advise people to go into the story too much. Breathe and feel the body and really check that you're breathing deeply, because the underlying thing you're trying to do is get the holding patterns and dead areas out of the muscle system. And with the bow and arch, that's mostly focused around the lower back and the backs of the legs. Not only those areas, but that's the main area that it's focused. So really go for that. But Breakdown, hi Dave, hi Breakdown. Is it really important to always be making sure your arms are behind your ears when doing the bow? Yeah, it is. That's a stretch, you know. I mean, if you've got shoulder issues like physical injuries there, obviously you need to be careful or talk to a physiotherapist. But basically, arms right up and then back behind the ears, and that opens up muscles here around the trapezoids and the shoulder blades, and when you can breathe through that, you know, a lot will start to move. You know, your upper body starts to open. I'm going to conclude the series about underachievement, the psychology of underachievement soon, and we'll be talking about this. I'll be talking about this in the video. It's on my list of things to do. But yes, get the arms back. You know, often people don't want to get them back. You know, I run a regular group here at the centre, and there's one guy, there's several guys, you know, and literally, he cannot pull the arms back for more than 2 seconds. As soon as I take my eyes off him, he's just brought them forwards again. That's because they're opening up muscles where there's a lot of feeling. And even before we really feel it, he's out of there. You know, he's out of there. So really give that a focus. Are my arms back as much as they can be back? And then breathe into the feeling that's there. Breathe into it and feel it. And like I say, of course, if you do have a real injury there, then, you know, you need to take care if you've got a physical injury. But if there's no injuries, you know, challenge yourself with that. I'm going to do some arm stretches soon on the on my YouTube channel, some challenge exercises. You know, I know that the first year I was doing the channel, really, I was doing a lot of physical exercises and it was great. And then I some dried up and I wanted to do more talking and stuff. And I've been doing that, but I want to bring it back soon. Certainly once I get down to Brighton and I'm living more there, to do one physical exercise a day, if possible, to get it up online. Different challenge exercises, all sorts of different stuff, working with different lengths of time in the bow and the arch, working with, you know, arm stretches and stuff like that. And really showing people how to open up this upper body, open up the shoulders where a lot of holding is. It's particularly good for people who want to get out there and really live and achieve. You need to get the shoulders, chest and throat open. Once you've got those areas open, there is this expansion and this feeling like, hey, I'm all right to be me and I can come out and speak my truth. You know, it happens. You've got to get certain key areas of the body open. Okay. Any more questions? No questions at the moment. Okay, if you're watching and you got a question, you know, feel free to put it out. Feel free to put it out. It's always useful to put out questions because what you'll find is a lot of other people have the same questions, and maybe they come along later and watch the stream and obviously can't ask a question then, or, you know, they're in the background kind of not quite confident, but, you know, they have the same questions. So always put them out. Does this seem familiar, and any advice on integrating this work in, when going deep in bio, I can get in touch with a far more real, authentic and masculine part of myself. He wants to rip down all the weak, fake personality. Does this seem familiar, and any advice on integrating this work in daily life? Yeah. It's good, you know. I mean, it's basically good. What you just got to make sure is you don't end up internalizing it in a negative way and being a motherfucker to yourself, you know, you know, just use it to look, you know, am I being honest in my interactions with people, for example? You know, am I really being honest? Am I being authentic? You know, the once the masculine side gets going, it wants to clear out all the crap, you know, it wants to clear out all the crap, it wants to get rid of it, you know, and just be clear. You know, and just be clear with people. Not that you have to be, you know, projecting it out and being a real motherfucker to other people. Sometimes people get like that and they want other people to really be clear and straight, but they themselves are not quite getting there. But it certainly sounds like you're not doing that and on a good track, man, you know. See, it sounds good. You know, I certainly 20 years ago when I started to do therapy, and I was in a right fucking mess at the time, you know, at some point I thought, man, I really want to get deeper with this. I'd lived for so long believing so little was possible in my life, you know, as a contracted defensive posture. And then at some point it was like, no, I want to get this shit out and I want to have a good life, girlfriends and job, what I really enjoy doing, and get stuff I really want to get going in my life. So use that. If there's a part of you that really wants to push for authenticity, then keep moving. And the authenticity comes through self-examination and through taking out the blocks, you know, self-examination, being aware of what's going on inside, getting to know when you're telling lies to yourself or covering stuff up or telling lies to other people. So sounds good, man. JW, male or female, just really keep going for it, man. Stefan said, so bio is a reason you seem so energetic. Yeah, I'm not always so energetic. You know, sometimes I can just laze around, but when I'm running stuff or on live stream, probably, yeah, I don't just sit there kind of off asleep, you know. And I do get energized quite easy. It's always there, but you don't need to do it. But the bio certainly will help, you know, because when you get some of the tension out of your muscle system, you know, and some of the dead zones, you've reanimated them, you've got your awareness back in there, you do have a lot of energy. And if you want to bring it out, you just fucking can. You just can. You can walk into a situation, just start to talk. I was in Ireland the other day and I had a talk to give for 2 hours. And I just walked up and just started going. And, you know, I engage with people, get to ask questions, whatever. But people loved it, you know. People fucking loved it. And it was really good fun to do. And it wasn't stressful. It wasn't stressful for me. I didn't have a lot of, oh, my God, what am I going to say? And I've got all my notes and blah, blah, blah. You know, at some point, you know, you can just be yourself and it's really okay. I think stress is cumulative and illnesses come when we accumulate too much of it. In some area of the body, maybe if we vibrate a little bit and do some screaming, we will certainly release some of it. Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Absolutely true. You know, this repetitive stress is a big issue in our culture, but finally, you know, it's up to us to try to people who've come to bioenergetics, as I see it, they're on the vanguard, you know, they're on the front line of change, you know. Front line of change. So if you're into bio, you know, you're into cutting edge stuff, and you know, we have to progressively move the negative influences of stress out of our own bodies or our own system, and then go out into the world and show people how to improve themselves. You know, that's the way forward. A breakdown. Is bowing by leaning back on the couch the same as standing bow? No, it won't open all the same. It won't open all the same, quite all the same muscles, you know, because your pelvis should be pushing forwards as well, and heels on the floor. Unless some people there, like for me, you know, for many years I did the bow with standing a little bit and inch my toes on the floor and heels an inch up. But basically, so you've got, you know, is it the same exercise? Does it serve the same purpose? It's similar. Basically, but yeah, you know, you do. I'm not standing, I'm sitting, but you know, you will get more from this exercise in terms of your overall body posture if you are standing and you're standing. You're really stretching like there's literally ropes tied to your wrists, pulling your arms up and stretching your arms back, and then the pelvis is pushed forwards, you know, and your head is level, and you breathe through the mouth and you feel your body. That's the basic bow. You know, when you have internalized the posture correctly and you really know it, then you can really stretch yourself. It's like you're kind of stretched on a kind of, like, you imagine a bow making machine, like an archer's bow, you know, and it's pushing, there's a block pushing your pelvis forwards, and there's ropes pulling your arms up and back. You know, you can do it in front of a mirror if you're not sure if you're stretching to the max. And then the key element as well is not just to stretch and hold your breath carefully, but really breathe out through the mouth. That's a big element. Okay, hope that's useful, man. JW, thanks, mate. It's Jackie. Oh, Jack, yeah, hi, yeah. Ever used? Yes, bioenergetic stool. I did a few exercises on that, and that's great. You can also use a sofa sometimes as a bioenergetic stool. I did a video about that once. It is awesome. Yeah, it is awesome. You know, it's very, very good at some point to really use a bioenergetic stool. It's great to have this kind of let go effect, you know. I've got instructions somewhere on my YouTube channel of how to make one, you know, just from a normal stool. You can also use a fairly sturdy sofa if you've got one in your flat, wherever. And then, you know, this leaning right back on the stool, closing your eyes, breathing, and trying to just allow your body to hang back. You can use the fulcrum at different points on your back, you know. But the lower you go towards the lower back for the fulcrum, then the more intense it gets. Don't overdo it. You don't want to pull your back in some way. But it's very, very helpful. I find it's very, very helpful. It goes deep. You know, you get this sense of really letting go control with the bioenergetic stool. So I think, you know, it's essential if you're on a long-term vision with therapy, with the body, with bioenergetics. You do every now and again, you do some work with the stool, maybe, you know, using it repetitively for a week or something like this. You know, we did a lot of stool work in the community about 18 months ago, and we actually made some bars you know, rather like with workhorses, long workhorses for people to lean over, and I should get those out and do some more of it because it's very, very useful work. Very, very useful work. So, you know, the stool is great. Do you know the Enneagram personality type system? Yes, I do, but I don't use it very much. I can't remember exactly how it goes, and I've never been so interested in it. A friend of mine, John Kramer, does a bit of therapy work, and he has a thing with the planets, and he explained that to me once, and it seemed I quite enjoyed that. But I'm not, you know, these things can be handy sometimes, but also the human design one is interesting, you know. But also what I see sometimes is people get massively into this, and then they're, you know, they've kind of put themselves in this box, and then it kind of, you know, they're the only things they're allowed to do, and it's like they've created a little prison for themselves. And I don't think whoever created it intended to be a prison, but people can get very, very mindy with it, you know, your personality structure and this kind of thing. What I see with doing a lot of bioenergetics and body-based work, you know, is you create a flexibility, you know, so you don't really need this kind of categorization. Sometimes it can be useful to understand certain elements in your personality, you know, but I personally, you know, because I'm working with the body much more, so, you know, yes, you have narratives and personality and blah blah blah, the program running in the head, in the neocortex, but it's not that I really want to kind of it's more I'm pulling people underneath that, you know, because most people have decamped their body and they've gone up into this world up here, and then it's generally not working for them, and then they come to look for some sort of body-based therapy, you know. So I'm working in a different way. What is your character structure? Who knows? Who knows? There used to be a thing called Reichian characterology, where Wilhelm Reich, who was a famous kind of innovator, inventor, and therapist from the 30s and 40s, you know, he created this thing where he categorized people into 5 personality profiles. And if you're familiar with Elliot Hulse in America, good guy, you know, he's done a training in that, and he often does sessions where he brings people into these. I don't find it so desperately useful. It's kind of old hat these days a bit, I think, you know, but I mean, it's okay. It's okay. But, you know, these things are, you've got to be careful with these things, all this kind of categorization, you know, the mind loves categorization, to put them in here. Human design, you know, generators and projectors and manifestors and God knows what. And these things are okay, but recognize this is the head. This is the neocortex. This is the mind. This is not the body, you know. It's not the gut, you know. It's not down there. It's not down there. It's a different thing, and it can be useful, but it is limited. It's very, very limited. Do I need to puff my chest out during the bow? Yeah, you do. Basically, puff sometimes feels like a funny word, but stretching the chest out. Often what I see is people who've otherwise got, when they're doing the bow, they've got the posture pretty damn good, but they're still closing their chest in, but slightly the arms come a little bit forwards like this, you know, they're not stretched back behind the ears, closing the chest, or the chest is a bit sunken. It's a bit sunken, you know, and that is, you want it, it's like the soul's position coming into life, unafraid, you know, not needing to protect. Classic mechanism, physical to protect, is to close the chest, close the heart, you know, restrict the emotional exposure to stimuli, you know. But that, like that, then of course we can't really open up and go into life, you know. And we have the power from the belly, you know, to protect ourselves, but we learn from the mind to constrict the chest and close. So you want to stick your chest out. I often say, like it's being pulled upwards, like there's a cord pulling it up at 45 degrees, you know, stretch it out. It's another element of the posture. It's another element of the posture. Hope that's useful, Adam. The breakdown. I get more shaking in the bow position when I tilt my head back and lean further back so that my chest is more open and towards the ceiling as opposed to being more upright. Does this meet protocol? I mean, people do it differently, you know. The thing with me in the bow was because I had an ankle problem, and you know, for a long time I couldn't do the bow properly. I can do it better now. But what I would see often in the group room, and when I started to receive bioenergetics, often there'd be a few guys who could kind of, they'd get upright, but then their back would really tilt like this, you know, from somewhere around the lower back, you know, and you'd always correct them to bring them a bit more upright, you know. If you're getting shaking, spontaneous shaking, generally that's a good sign something's trying to release. So without seeing you or knowing you personally, or you maybe someone I do know from your handle, I don't know, but without seeing you or knowing you personally, it's difficult to give exact advice. But generally, if you're getting that shaking, it's good, And if your chest feels more open, that's also good. If you're getting shaking, I think it's good. I do like to see the arms stretching back behind the ears when I'm leading it, because it does open these muscles more, and these muscles around here where there can be a lot of old tension, particularly for people who are holding themselves a bit back in life. So, but if you're getting spontaneous shaking, I think that's basically good. And certainly some practitioners will allow you to bring your head up. It's not so terrible. I learned it like this, and I think it's better to keep the head level, eyes level. But it's also valid bioenergetics to have the head a bit more upright, looking a bit more at the ceiling. Generally, turning right up is a bit too much. I don't know anyone who teaches it like that, but certainly lifting your head a little bit, it's not really a bad thing. But it's also not necessary the way I teach it personally. I hope that's useful. JW, what would you say are the warning signs of doing too much bio or processing too much too quick, trying to find something sustainable here? I mean, the main danger is going too much in the head and avoiding, actually, because, it's good to do a session and have time to process The main thing is that you come progressively, your awareness comes into the body. It's this gradual coming out of being totally dominated by thoughts, actually expanding the level to which you can feel your body, which in many ways is natural meditation, simply feeling the body. So doing too much, you can't really do too much in a sense, except that one, you could overdo it to the point where you really trigger yourself too much. You're bringing too much up that you can process, or more likely what tends to happen is people just start to enter altered worlds a bit in their mind because they're avoiding too much. Not really avoiding, but there are feelings triggered in the body, and they're doing it, they're overdoing it, and then they spend too long in this kind of altered state. Another thing can be, I kind of thought it, lost it a little bit, is, half an hour is great a day if you can do it. An hour is great a day. And of course, when I'm running a workshop, you might be doing 6 hours of bioenergetics in a day. 6 hours, usually mix the exercises around, but certainly, it's not, and that is not too much. It's good to have downtime to sleep, I think a sign that someone's doing too much, also maybe they can't sleep, trying to find something sustainable here. I'm hoping, when I get some more free time, and I'm planning to get down to Brighton, I've got a flat now I'm getting together, but I'll be able to start to write real kind of workouts out, so that people who want to get into bio have got something really solid that they can follow, but that's about the best I can do on too much for me, that you find yourself getting over triggered, that you find yourself really going in your head or something like this a lot, coming out of bio and really wanting to be on the phone or the computer for a long period of time is a sure sign, that at some point you develop the self-awareness to know when you're kind of in avoidance, when you're avoiding a feeling in your body. What's good to understand with bio is all you're really doing is expanding your capacity to feel emotions and just to feel the body. That's all you're doing, and that creates psychological health. And over time it eradicates anxiety, over time it eradicates depression. But it's quite it's a long journey, but that's what you're doing. I hope that's useful, Jack. Michael Winkler, head, heart and gut all have their place. Absolutely true. Couldn't agree with you more. Great, Dan. Thank you. Cool. So guys, if you got questions, ask questions. Well, I'm very excited about Project Man, which is coming up starting in February. I've got a few bookings coming in, and I'm going to be getting out there, creating some more content. I did a little video the other day, and I thought afterwards maybe I could have done it a bit better. But it was really about, if you are stuck in the nice guy mode, and you're stuck in nice guy, the fastest way to change that is to work with anger in a group room setting, So check out Project Man. If you really want to change the nice guy thing, we'll be doing a lot of gut-centered work and a lot of work with anger, and that is when you can really create the quickest. That's the fastest route to change the nice guy. And it's not that you go out in the world being an angry motherfucker, but you radiate differently when you go out in the world. The bullies out in life, they look for the nice guys to dump shit on, So if you really, really want to, take a New Year's resolution to stop being a nice guy and to come out of it, look at Project Man, because this will be a workshop where, you can come and really start to get the gut centered going, and you'll learn techniques that you can take out into the world and do them right. Some of you have a daily practice in the morning to get your belly more online, to get real experience with expressing anger fully. It brings up a lot of other emotions in its wake often, so it can be a good weekend for clearing a lot out and a chance to do some, real good structures to break the nice guy. If you're serious about changing your nice guy thing, do check out Project Man. Guy wrote to me earlier, said, I'm in Holland, I can't come. I'd love to come, but I'm in Holland. I thought, bloody hell, I used to go to Holland every fucking month for about 2 years, to do therapy work, to do work. So I wanted to change. And the place I was hooked into that I enjoyed going to and that was really working for me was located in Holland. So every month I flew into Amsterdam and got the bloody train up to near Alkmaar, So you need to be, check it out. Do you really want to make change? Get along to a workshop. Check my website. I've got a ton of stuff going on in the next couple of months, and there's more things coming. So get to it. JWR, yes, it's useful. So if a body feels shitty, just let it be. Yes. Don't try and change it with the head if coming from avoidance relief. Yes, you've got to expect the body's going to feel pretty. At times, there'll be feelings which your mind really judges as bad. But what happens after a while is you get used to that process and you kind of get these aha moments. I still get them for sure. My body's, my mind is like, this is not okay. What I'm feeling is not okay. That's the, the signal in a sense. It's a signpost. Okay, feel the body. That's the most important thing. And particularly in times when you can see there's a judgment from your mind that the feeling is not okay. This inner vigilance is very, very useful. Very, very useful. Just had to approve a comment there. But that is, and this is a big part of it. If you want to work on your own, you have to develop the inner vigilance and that kind of idea where you really check out your reactions, especially when you can recognize when you're going into an avoidance strategy and you think, aha, I'm going into avoidance. Now's the time to go in. I was listening to a guy recently, Dave Coggins, the American ex-Navy SEAL guy, and he has this concept, he calls it embrace the suck, where every day you have to do something that really fucking sucks. That's an American slang, but something that's a real pain in the fucking arse, basically, if you're a Brit like me. And that there is a lot of truth in that, There's very, very useful. Something that you really don't want to fucking do. Even if it's just in your to-do list, ringing someone up or whatever, confronting a situation where you train yourself once a day to do something you really don't want to fucking do. And it's very, very useful. It also trains you as well to understand and to develop more vigilance, okay, so that you can see, when I'm really in a feeling, doing an exercise that you don't want to fucking do, doing one thing a day that you really don't want to fucking do, that is such a healthy practice if you really want to step up. Something you learn over time in this game is that comfort is not your friend. It's not your friend. And it's not saying that you can never, ever be comfortable for a moment. Of course it isn't, But it's understanding that comfort is a drug that you can get addicted to, and it will fuck your life up especially if you're the kind of person that wants to step up, get out there and have an awesome life. Comfort is not your friend. If you talk to anyone who's really successful, who's really stepped up in life, and maybe only 1% or 0.5% of people do, they will tell you that comfort ain't your friend. It's not going to support you. So look for stuff that you really don't want to do and see, how can I do it? Do one thing a day you don't want to do. Maybe it's talking to someone that you didn't want to talk to. Maybe it's ringing up someone you didn't want to ring up. Maybe it's a physical exercise that you really fucking hate, which is what Dave Coggins was talking about, But look for stuff like that. It trains you to start to feel your body more as well, because when you do it, keep feeling your body, keep feeling what's actually going on, what's being triggered, and like this you can take yourself on. Stefan, every time I do bio, I have some vivid, crazy primal dreams like fucking and fighting and running, and always make up with crazy hard erection. It's awesome. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. It's good. It's all good. You know, it's all good. You know, simple as that. Victor 70. Bioenergetics has different approaches for men and women. Not really. Not really big time. When I'm working with guys, I'm quite keen to get them centered in the gut. You know, men come to me who want, you know, to really develop the masculine side a bit more. And so I work with the gut a lot. And for women, you know, traditionally in psychology, we think, you know, women are more heart-centered. I'm not sure that's really true, you know, when it all comes down. I think men and women are very similar in a lot of things, to be honest. And I think a lot of it is kind of cultural how the culture's been in the last 1,000 or 2,000 years in its approaches towards men and women. It doesn't have much of a doesn't have so much difference between men and women. There may be certain exercises that, I don't know, there are exercises that women could need to, possibly, you know, of course, if you're pregnant or something, you know, it might not always be right to do bioenergetics, but the approach is pretty much the same. The approach is pretty much the same. Certainly the regular class I train, I do twice a week here. You know, it's full of men and women, often more women than men, most definitely. And a lot of women get turned on to bioenergetics, you know. JW, thanks, Dev. Got to run. See you later this month if I can get my finances sorted in time. Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, come to something. Come to something. Project Man. Okay. Okay, guys. So I'm going to do another 5 minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes. If there's questions, if you're watching and you've got a question, do put it out. Do put it out. I'm running quite a lot at the moment. I've got big primal workshop starting on Thursday. I think that's pretty much full now. That's 3 days residential. And then the weekend after that, I run an introduction to body-based therapy group with a friend of mine, Sanjula, lady therapist, and that's called Rebirthing Bioenergetics and Emotional Release. And that'll be a chance to really experience those kinds of sessions, you know, real good primer for working with the body. You can't, you know, it's great to invest some time and money coming to workshops. I know I bang on about it quite a lot. I do give out a lot of free content as well. I'm not just mindlessly promoting workshops, but it is true that you move a lot, you know, once you start to take yourself into the group room space. You move a lot. And it's really good to look if you can get yourself there. So it's Rebirthing Bioenergetics and Emotional Release. That's a weekend workshop in Dorset. After that, I'm co-running 7-day intensive called the Total Life Change. That's also 7-day residential in Dorset. After that, 2-day non-residential called Project Man. Great for anyone who wants to develop the male side much more. And we won't be working a lot theoretically. It'll be, you know, working with the body, with bioenergetics and with emotional expression, essentially. And properly held space to really go deeper and take on challenges, you know, challenges, psychological challenges. I won't explain too much, but it'll be exciting stuff so that you can really come out of the nice guy, you know, and really feel your clear masculine energy inside. I'm excited about that. Weekend after that, I'm running a 1-day bioenergetics in Brighton. And I think the weekend after that, it's spiritual boot camp, 3-day bioenergetics intensive. Possibly I've got a week 3 in between there somewhere. And then I'm looking at getting back to Dublin around the beginning of March. That's not finalized yet, but hoping to get that together. Anyway, guys, you know, anyone who's out there has got a question, do ask a question. Do ask a question, or I can wrap this stream up soon. But you know, I'm here to support, and I just want people to go deeper. People have been telling me, I'm quite interested by this idea. How many people out of 1,000 really step up and change their life? I don't know how many it is. Someone told me it's only 1 in 1,000. I've had another person said of all people who go to workshops, only 2% ever change. Got to chase some of these statistics up sometimes. But I find myself recently quite interested in this idea, you know, how to keep on stepping up and really creating change. Anyway, guys, let's see if there's another question coming in or anything else I want to chat about. Quite looking forward to doing more videos, you know, putting more content, not just talking content, but some challenge exercises is what I want to get out. And then in the latter half of the year, starting to get some real kind of workouts together, proper workouts, so that you start something for a week and then you have another week on something else, and you start to really get some bodily awareness going. So that'll be a bit my focus for the second part of the year, hopefully. And at some point also, you know, for people who are really into it, getting some training going, you know, training some stuff. I want to really get involved with the men's group more. Mohammed, hey man, nice to see you. Hope all's good. I think you're in Algeria, maybe. Yeah, hope it's good out there. Anyway, cool. If anyone's got a question, feel free to put it out now. Otherwise, I'll be closing this stream off in a minute. And that's how it is. Hopefully next week should be here. Next week should be here. I finished this primal group, and then yeah, I'm interested in a London meetup called No More Mr. Nice Guy. I don't know if anyone knows anything about it, but run by a chap called Rowan. So I might go up to see that next week in London, see what he's up to. I want to get more into the men's scene. So if you're hearing this, you know, right now or later on, you check this stream out. Leave me any links, you know, about step up groups for men that are going on. Maybe some of them, you know, the Mankind Project. I know. But I'm interested in this scene and getting involved and bringing my own stuff in. And also, you know, I'm happy to go along and do other people's groups a bit as well and see what they're up to. I like to see that. I know that also the TNT, the new Tranter, are doing some good men's work out there, more in Holland and Sweden. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to say enough for today, and see you all next week. Victor, you introduced BioEnergetics to me. Thanks to you. Cool, man. Cool. I'm happy it's working for you. Okay, guys, have a good evening or morning or night, wherever you are in the world. And I'm hoping to be back on the 15th. Bloody hell, it's my birthday, 15th, next Tuesday. Maybe I won't be back. I'll see. I've forgotten all about it. I've been busy with so much different stuff. I've forgotten it's my bloody birthday. Okay, I'll be going to be 58, 50 fucking 8. And I'm stepping up more. Okay, if I can do it, you can do it. We can all do it. Keep doing the bioenergetics. Keep stepping up. Keep challenging yourself. Do one thing you fucking hate every day. Good challenge.